we used to have our pre-games all the time at Panera. I don't know if they have that in DC, but
They certainly do. Don't worry. Many a Panera in DC.
yeah.
So we are so very excited to have Alessia Russo, forward for Arsenal and the English women's national team, on the show today. Alessia, how's it going? And thanks so much for being on.
No, thanks for having me. Hi, guys.
So WSL season, preseason, starting now. Season's gearing up. Arsenal is coming to the United States to play the Washington Spirit in a much anticipated friendly on August 18th, followed by a matchup against Chelsea on August 25th. Maybe before we get into the talk about the season or the friendlies, maybe the best question is just, how was your off season?
Well, we were actually quite busy internationally, so there wasn't so much of an off season, but it was good. We had big games to compete for and qualify for the Euros, and then we had a little bit of downtime, and then back here ready to go.
To that point, like you said, a busy time of year, even just coming off of the WSL season in May and June. With Euro qualifiers, I know you guys did the Australia tour. How do you personally, as a player, one of the biggest conversations right now in global football is, especially on the women's side, the need for rest, right? The need to rehab and to get ready to feel fresh for a new season. How do you take that time in an off season that has been so busy?
Yeah, it's tough at times. I think you really need to make the most of it when you do get time to fully switch off. Something that when I was a little bit younger probably wasn't as good as, but as I get older, knowing your body a bit more, knowing what works for you. When I'm not playing football, I like to just be fully rested. And when we get time off in the summer on a beach somewhere in hot weather, makes it even better. So yeah, it's tough and it's hard to balance at times, but I think it's just about making the most of the time that you do get off and making sure that your body fully switches off and kind of takes its mind off of football so you can relax, and then when you're back in the environment you feel more refreshed.
Even again, to that point, there's been this conversation about European teams where players who are playing for club and playing internationally. We've seen the European teams at the Olympics this summer have to deal with a lot of that heavy load. Have you gotten a chance to check out any of the Olympic football so far?
Yeah, I've been watching it all pretty much. I mean, it's been a really tough competition as well, and the games come around so quickly. So I'm looking forward to watching the final tomorrow as well. I think it'll be a really good game.
Also, again, maybe a little bit of a preview, right? You've got some of those Washington Spirit players that you'll be up against playing in that game. This is the first time Arsenal has played in the United States in a long time, but you personally also have ties to the States. People might not know that you played college ball at North Carolina before joining your first WSL club. What do you remember most about that experience in the U.S. in college?
I loved my time at college. I just remember going out there quite young and naive, and I just thought I'd kind of throw myself into this new environment and experience. And yeah, I came out of it with the best friends that I still speak to now all the time, the best experience. And I think that you had to learn a different style of football, which was cool. And I think, just the people you meet along the journey, and the place, Chapel Hill, was so beautiful. You're at a place where there's so many athletes and so many top quality sports as well. I loved it.
What was it about college soccer that intrigued you the most? I mean, it's a big decision to make as a teenager, right? To come over and move into a new environment. But what was it specifically that made you want to make that particular leap?
Well, I was speaking to a few schools, and then I went out and visited UNC, and I just fell in love with the campus, the people, everything about it. And Anson is a winning coach, and the players that he's coached and the legacy that he's had on women's football is massive. So, yeah, when that opportunity was presented, I thought it was one that I couldn't turn down. And I learned a lot about myself on and off the pitch.
College soccer is I'll say it, it's the sport on steroids, right? There's the free subbing. It's very fast, very athletic, very transitional. What was it about getting thrown into that environment and then coming back to play in WSL or play for the England national team? What were some of the soccer principles that you think you brought with you having to play in such that kind of high transitional style?
I think when I went to the States originally, a lot of my youth football in England was very technical and tactical based, and then going to the States, I kind of developed a different side of the game in terms of like strength and power and physicality, because in order to fit into the game and into college football, you needed to be strong, you needed to be quick and fit. So I'd not really stepped foot in a gym much until I went to the States. And then when I got out there, yeah, the gyms, the programs that they put you on is like crazy. So yeah, I definitely learned that side and understood my body a little bit more, and yeah, just tried to figure out what's best for me and how I could get the best out of myself.
Does that background help with the ability to be creative on the field? Like, again, fans might remember the back heel, the kind of that creativity that you have such a calm head, but also you're so in control, like you said, of your body on the pitch. Those bases of, like, talking again, sort of the things that you learned in college at North Carolina, does that help with the footballing side of it as well, even now?
Yeah, although people will say that I'm still really clumsy, and I am. Sometimes I struggle to stay on my feet, but yeah, I mean, I just had to grow. Like my body was still kind of going through a transition of becoming from a young player to a woman, and I just had to kind of catch up my body with where I needed it to be, with its strength and its power. And it's still something that you work on now, but UNC was kind of the starting point for all of that.
So it's been a while, right, since you've been based in the States. But is there anything, like, you're coming back over, you guys are going to be in DC for over a week? Anything you're excited to do in the US or see in the US? I mean, like food in the US. Is there anything that you're excited to get back to?
Well, I'm excited to go to Chipotle. I love it there. Um, they do actually have a couple in London, but they're really far like out for me. So I'm looking forward to Chipotle. We used to have our pre games all the time at Panera. I don't know if they have that in DC, but
They certainly do. Don't worry.
do
Many a Panera in DC.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, everyone used to think like, oh, why are we going to Panera again? But Lotta and I used to love it. So I'm sure we'll take a visit back there. But no, I'm looking forward. I loved America. I love my time out there. I go back sometimes on holiday and stuff. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Well, it seems like these games, obviously, it's part of the stepping stone to get ready for the season, but it's also a chance to connect with American fans. The profile of WSL, even, Arsenal through Champions League, through greater access over here in the States. How nice is it to have that opportunity to get to play in front of those fans who might not be able to see you guys during the regular season?
Yeah, we're all really excited. I think it's nice to kind of go out there and show what we do and bring it to the States. I think we have a lot of fans that follow us from afar, but when they can see us up close, it makes it that little bit more special. And we did it in Australia, and the reception that we got out there was incredible. So I think, yeah, we're all really excited to go and meet some of our US fans.
Have you had any moments where you've sort of stopped and thought, oh, wow, this is really turning into, I mean, Arsenal already an international brand, certainly on the men's side, but feeling like even just the English football, English women's football is growing into this thing that is globally known? Have you ever had kind of that moment where you're like, wow, this is a global movement at this point?
Well, I think the past few years with the tournaments we've been having with the Euros and the World Cup, when you're playing in it and you're walking out in these kind of stadiums and just the buzz around the different cities that you're in, everyone's just a fan of women's football, and they're genuinely wanting to see the game grow, and they're actual fans of women's football. And I think that to play in those kind of stadiums, whether that's in England, in Australia, in the US, I think women's football now is never questioned, and it's always backed, and we have our fan bases, and we're just getting the stages that we deserve now. So yeah, it's maybe taken a little bit longer than we'd all hoped, but yeah, there's a genuine love for women's football, which is special.
It should also just be, I think, the game between Arsenal and the Spirit, very interesting, clashing styles. We don't get to see sort of that cross competition as much as maybe we would like between the American clubs and the European clubs. But the Spirit recently, they've got a little bit, they're pushing more into, they bring Heraldez over from Barcelona. Michelle Kang, their owner, owns multiple clubs in Europe as well as the Spirit. They just signed Esma Morgan, who you know from the national team.
Yeah.
What are you anticipating, I guess, from that battle between sort of some of that American style, but we're seeing NWSL clubs evolve, and what you guys are doing?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a really tough game, and we all know that as players. And also, they're in their season, so they're going to be firing. They're going to be on form. We're coming into it at a different stage, but we'll be as prepared as we possibly can be. and we want to go into it like we want to go into every game this season, with wanting to win and put on a performance that we're all proud of. And I think to expect from them, I mean, it will be a fast-paced game, and probably a different style to what we're used to, which is also cool because there's so many different types of teams in Europe and in England that you come up against. So yeah, it'll be good to test ourselves against the Spirit.
Last couple of questions here, more big picture, because you talked about this briefly earlier, the moment that women's football is in, the England winning the home Euros, making it to the World Cup final, again, greater access for WSL, the rise of the Champions League, even to kind of greater heights, becoming the standard of club football. How does it feel to be part of? I mean, I would even say we in the States are seeing this sort of revolution of support for women's sport, not just on the footballing side, but we're seeing it for basketball and other sports as well. Mm-hmm. How could you have what does it feel like to be part of the generation that is on this wave of sort of this exponential growth of women's sports? And maybe what's changed for you, let's say even from starting your college career at North Carolina to now, in the popularity and the support for women's football?
Yeah, I think I feel very privileged to be in the position and to have the access to the fans that we have now, and have the support of the fans. I think for us as players, there's no greater feeling than winning, but winning with your fans and with the people that have backed you since day one makes it even more special. And yeah, I think just women's sport in general is skyrocketing right now. People can see the talent, and to be honest, I think the talent's always been there. It's just not been viewed as it is now, which is a shame. I know in England, one of my favourite players growing up was Kelly Smith, who's actually my coach now. But she was one of the best forwards that there's ever been, but maybe didn't get the stage that she deserved back in the day. And I know that there's loads of top English talent that's been there ever since we can remember. But now the game's growing, that these people are in the right places that they need to be. And yeah, people have a genuine connection to following these journeys and these stories. So I feel very privileged to be in that kind of position, and hopefully long may it continue.
What would you like to see for the sport as it continues to grow going forward?
I'd just like to see girls continuing playing, having a route into football, and whether they want to be a player, a referee, a coach, knowing that football's for them and they don't have to question whether there's a place for them in the football world. And yeah, just making sure that every young girl and boy out there can follow whatever path they want to in football or whatever in life it may be.
And then last one, just, looking forward to the Arsenal season or this tour. When fans come to see the club play, whether it is at Audi Field or you guys have many games at the Emirates this season, what can they expect from Arsenal football in 2024, 2025?
Hopefully a lot. We've got high expectations of ourselves and as a team. We'll work hard throughout the season. I think this is one of the most hard-working teams I've been a part of, and the energy and the passion to go out and get better every single day is massive. And yeah, hopefully win lots of games, play football that everyone's enjoying watching, keeping the ball and creating lots of chances. But no, I think what sets this team apart and will hopefully set this team apart this season is the commitment and the graft that we put in every day. And yeah, the relationship that we have off the pitch as well, and genuinely wanting everyone to do well. So hopefully it'll be a big year.
Incredible. Can't think of a better way to close this out. Thank you so much, Alessia Russo, for joining us. Like I said, they will be playing in Washington, D.C. on August 18th against the Washington Spirit, and again against Chelsea on August 25th. Check that out. Thank you so much for joining us. And I'm just excited to see it. Excited to see what you guys have going on this season.
Thanks.